All right, here we go. So this is the last before clip. Took off the hash marks and the decals. Got it super cleaned, nice and smooth. All right, well, we're gonna try a time lapse. Here's got the heat gun, got the parts for cutting out the vinyl and trimming, and then spent hours cutting all these out. So here's kind of the method that I used. So you see all these like random shapes. So what I did was Vivid Vinyl makes this swivel. Let's see if it'll focus. This swivel blade. There it goes. The blade on here, I don't know if you can see, but like it turns so that you can kind of freehand shapes without it creating jagged edges. So if you did this with scissors, you'd have a bunch of like weird sharp edges. And then also if you do it with scissors, you end up having to waste a lot of material to get to the shape. So the cool thing about this is you can do this shape, and then this shape, and then this edge of this becomes the edge of your next one. So I could cut another piece right here, another piece right here, another piece right here. And then the edges obviously get a little tricky, but you really don't waste any material. It's very, very little material waste by using this method. And I think this was like $9 on Amazon. And it comes with several replacement blades. So I think I did switch a blade once, but you want to make sure that you put the vinyl on like wood or maybe a piece of cardboard. That way you don't, dull the blade, and you can cut out the shapes as you go. So I'd put like a big sheet of cardboard under it's pretty good, or like a piece of wood, or if you have like a cutting mat or something. But that's how you do that without wasting any product. Tell I didn't put as much on the roof because nobody sees it really, but I did put some up on the roof as well, just because I didn't want it to be completely bare. So there's some up there, it's just not as much as the rest of the body. I don't want it to look too weird just being completely empty. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions on this approach. I think all in all it ended up costing around $150, give or take. I will include the information on kind of supplies I used and the quantity below. Let me know if you have any questions. I would say the cutting of the shapes, which I recommend doing in advance, probably takes about 2 hours to cut those all out and get them ready. And then the actual installation of putting it on, I'd say about 6 hours to do the whole thing and to do it well. I mean, there's still areas that I'm not super pleased with that maybe one day I'll redo, but I think it turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it, and if I don't like it, I can take it off, and if there's pieces I want to switch out, I can take 20 minutes and switch out a piece. I did this for a couple reasons. One, obviously I like snow camo because I've got it on the skid plate. Two, it also gives it some additional protection. Granted, not all the paint is covered, but when I'm on trails, this will help prevent some of the pinstriping that I was getting from bushes and things like that. And so, it does serve a function as well as, just aesthetics. But I would do it again, definitely. I would love to find a wrap color that would match the burnt orange, but I haven't been able to find one. I even talked to a neighbor who works at a detailing shop that does wraps. I looked through the sampling and they didn't have a burnt orange that matched. So you know, for now, it's just the snow orange, but I would love in the future at some point to add some accents that match the sport trim, but you know, that's okay. You don't need an expensive heat gun, but you will want to use a heat gun. I think I got one for like 15 bucks at Harbor Freight, so you don't need to buy anything super expensive. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. It worked just fine. You definitely want to buy good cutting tools and have a clean workspace. The other thing is, I'd highly recommend you do this when it's not windy and when it's warm outside. Warmer because it'll be easier to manipulate the wrap, because it'll automatically be a little bit softer because it's warm outside. So I think you could do this in winter. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I think it'll make the job harder on you, but you could. And the other thing is, this is my neighbor's tree, which is awesome because it gives me some nice shade on the car and a little bit on the house right here. But when I was like halfway through, we got a gust of wind that blew a bunch of like pollen under one of the pieces I was wrapping that I had to just toss. So I would also definitely recommend just pay attention to your surroundings, make sure there's not gonna be a windy or dusty day or anything like that. Make sure you clean the paint really well to prepare it. So you wanna make sure that either you clay bar it or you do some sort of a treatment. And the reason for that is you wanna get every impurity off that you can, and so that the vinyl will actually stick to it, because if it's dirty, that's going to inhibit it from actually sticking to the material. The other thing is, probably goes without saying, but the bigger the piece, the harder it is to lay down. So just keep that in mind. There's other looks you can go for with smaller pieces, but you know, depending on the look you're going for, you may want smaller, bigger pieces, but the bigger the piece, the harder it is to actually lay down. So like some of these pieces were rather large. Also, make sure that you are paying attention to the composition. So there are areas that I wish I would have designed a little bit differently, but it's okay, it's my first time. But you want to make sure what pulls this look off, what makes it look good and natural, is that you have to have overlap of pieces, you have to have random shapes and sizes, you need to have areas that overlap the body panels and cut off, because that's what will make it look natural. And so that's really important. Basically, you don't want to be too random that it looks like it wasn't thought out, but you don't want to be so planned that it looks symmetrical, because the point is that it shouldn't look symmetrical. And so you need to really play with your body lines a lot. And like I said, if you don't like how a piece turned out, you can just redo it. Or, you know, replace it or get another piece. So those are just kind of some recommendations I have. The other thing is, like, I need to do some trimming a little bit on some of those, but you know, carefully trimming as carefully as you can so you don't scratch your paint or cut anything. And then make sure you're sealing it or resealing it with a heat gun is super helpful. Like, I already know on the other side, I actually need maybe 1 or 2 more pieces just to kind of bring it all together. But I think I need to put a piece there maybe coming down. And then maybe 1 small piece here that kind of overlaps on the wheel well. I don't need to do it right away. It doesn't look bad. Maybe like 1 little piece of black wouldn't look bad here. But I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about this approach. Instead of it being, you know, $500 to $700 to wrap it yourself, with a full wrap, you're talking 100, maybe 200 bucks, and you can change it easily. You can switch it up without having to redo a huge panel all at once. The other thing I would know too is I've wrapped before, but I'm by far not an expert. I've just done like my mirror caps and small stuff inside, my skid plate, just small things. Oh, I also got overlays to match. I think those look really good with it. But pay attention to the material, meaning this I believe is 3 mil. I think this is 2 mil, 1 or 2 mil, this black. And so this is actually very easy to work with. This 3 mil gloss is super easy to work with. This black, I think this is a satin or flat, was actually harder to work with because it's just thinner. So it's not very forgiving. when it comes to stretch. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. The other thing is, depending on the look you're going for, you may want to play with textures and finishes, meaning obviously your car has the clear coat and it's glossy. You may want some contrast in finish as well as color. So I purposely did gloss white because I feel like gloss and gray are fairly close, and white is a very dramatic color. And then I did, I believe, flat or satin in the gray and flat or satin in the black. I can't remember which is which, but both of those are non-gloss finishes. And so that also gives it a layer of dimension that you may not otherwise have. Obviously it's a little hard to tell on a camera, but that's another thing to kind of keep in mind, that you want to pay attention to the finishes, right? Because like, for example, this is gloss, this is flat, this is satin. And so it just plays with the dimensional appearance a little bit more. But yeah, this was a pretty big undertaking. It's probably not completely done yet, but it's like 90% of the way done. So I want to share that. And like I said, I'll probably maybe like 1 or 2 small pieces out over there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you like it, don't like it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I guess it's good. It's not your car, right? But if you have any questions or feedback, let me know. Thanks for watching.